Drivability training. Join the Motor Medics for fun and free automotive advice with real-world solutions to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. I would ask you guys what caught your eye in the automotive world, but I actually brought some news that caught my eye.
Do tell, Chris.
FedEx was named in a lawsuit accusing them of rolling back the odometers of thousands of their trucks before they were sold. This would be the largest odometer fraud scheme in American history.
How and when?
That's a good question.
Because if you told me I need this rolled back because it was legal to do, well, we'd probably know how to do it then, right? Everybody'd be selling you stuff to do it. I don't know how I could physically take the odometer out of your car and put another one in, and then it would read different. A lot of cars now, though, you change the odometer and it just updates to the car. It goes up. You know, if the mileage is higher on the car, it won't go down, but it'll go up. And some of them are stored in a computer. But I'm just wondering, on those FedEx trucks, they had to have maybe changed the odometers.
Is there more in that story you can read? Because I'm waiting for more information before I react.
Hi, this is Fred at FedEx. I need 5,000 odometers, please.
The lawsuit states FedEx, beginning in or around 2011, pursued another revenue stream by remarketing the fleet vehicles instead of destroying them. They used to scrap anything over a decade. Let's see here. They would set their operational limit usually around 350,000 miles. But plaintiffs say in a scheme involving the old trucks, FedEx decided to stop scrapping them and sent them to auto auctions instead. FedEx is accused of not only resetting the odometers of the vehicles that sold, but also not disclosing which vehicles had their odometers replaced. Let's see. Holman, which managed FedEx's commercial fleet, is accused of selling the vehicles for more than they're worth due to incorrect odometers. One of the plaintiffs in the case is a commercial truck dealer based in Henderson, Nevada.
I've got a theory here. I really do. And of course I do. I'm going to say it.
Right.
No, I know enough about just how the world works from being in our trade association and just being at this for a while that big companies get big targets on them. And deep pockets are often looked upon as opportunities. And I don't know anything about this. But I'm going to guess out of thousands of FedEx vehicles, many of them handled through independent contractors that work for FedEx that have a FedEx nameplate and a FedEx authorization, but they're not owned by FedEx. And then the combination of knowing that we used to get a fleet of trucks that they would scrap, and I know that's a fact that they used to scrap trucks because we scrapped some of them locally here in South Dakota, which wasn't very many, but we did do that for them. We had to make sure that they got scrapped. I'm going to guess they probably had some GM vans and other vehicles that odometers were bad on at one point in their life. In the mix of fixing these vehicles throughout the course of their use, they were dropping odometers in them, they were fixing them, they were doing all kinds of stuff to keep the fleet going.
That would have been the perfect time, about 2011 to 2014 or so, where there would have been a ton of broken GM
when you
odometers.
said that one part about replaced odometers, I just wondered,
the gauges would fail.
I just wonder if somebody ended up with 1 or 10 that had odometers switched in them if they were selling a whole bunch of them, and then they got in trouble because somebody called them out on a Carfax or whatever and said, hey, this mileage isn't right.
Or was it UPS?
So I just can't see a big corporation like that knowingly scheming to get rid of their asset that's already depreciated by changing the miles on it. I'm sorry, I don't see it.
They weren't like, I haven't heard, it would be big in the news if FedEx was like in bankruptcy or some financial thing so bad that they had to go get a few dollars by.
This is over.
It's a great headline.
Decades.
And I'm sure there's something to it, but when you got that big of an organization, you could have one little vein of corruption in somewhere where somebody was up to something, and you just got to figure it out. But guess whose name gets brought out into the news?
Right. This is
the big name on the plane and the race car and everywhere else.
Automotive News reports that FedEx and Holman Automotive have been accused of rolling back the odometers of old delivery trucks. And this one, they got the first one. One of the examples here is a Freightliner that they took to Freightliner and found that it was off by 220,000 miles.
You got two things going against you there. You've got three. You've got at the Freightliner. You've got mileage in the computer, and look at you've got service records.
Oh gosh, yes.
FedEx can pull those service records and say how many times it's been worked on.
No sense.
Plus the Invitas numbers that are on there. I bet you're right, Shannon. The odometer broke, and Freightliners are known to have broken odometers as well in that area. The company that makes these odometers should be getting under the knife for this because they broke like crazy. Look at how many GM we replaced and a lot of Fords, all made by the same company as like Takata airbags. It's like if you have a Takata airbag.
Was there a statement from anybody in that article?
Not that I kept. I didn't.
A statement.
It was a long.
What?
It was a long.
I'm unknowingly defending them, but to me this makes zero sense. That this could there be some problems? Yeah, and did maybe somebody end up with some of their problems, get in big trouble, and they knew an attorney, or an attorney said, "Well, that's FedEx. Let's see. This is a bigger deal." I just kind of wonder.
Oh, you can bet if somebody got their hands on like a 2013 GMC 3/4 ton van and bought it privately and thought that they could make a quick buck, some unscrupulous place that bought it. Oh yeah, that's probably happened.
I'll keep an eye out for that. I'll do a little digging here too during the break and stuff to see if this was from yesterday. I saw it. See how my
theory holds out.
U-Haul though, UPS is much like FedEx is much like UPS. We used to see those scrapped vehicles out there because they did not want one of their vehicles, which is very recognizable, used in
duplicitous
bad
situations.
U-Haul doesn't seem to really care because their vehicles they're not recognizable once they're painted over. They look like a regular van, and you could take a regular van and put U-Haul letters on it, make it look like. But FedEx, those things, and the UPS especially, where they have a specifically designed vehicle for them, they take them off the road completely. So they've got if you could buy a UPS vehicle, man, I think those would be great. They're so indestructible.
Let's go to Kentucky and talk to John. You're on the Under the Hood show. John, what can we do for you?
Yeah, I've got an '07 Ram. It's actually an '07 and a half Ram 2500 with 6.7 Cummins. And this is going to send you for a loop because I took it to multiple shops, one of them being a dealer. They had it for 6 months, and they can't figure it out.
Huh.
Yeah.
6 months to figure it out.
I took it to, what's that?
As it's 6 months to figure it out, not to fix it or wait for parts.
We don't even know if it's fixed yet, Russ.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fixed yet.
No, they didn't. No, it ain't fixed. No, they fixed one part of it, and during the process of fixing that part, created another issue.
Air conditioning problem.
It happened about no
inside
about
joke.
A year ago. Yeah. No, this truck's got a lot of problems, but air conditioning isn't one of them. But about a year ago, the power steering started leaking, so I sprayed off the engine and the transfer case because the transfer case was leaking a little bit. The next day, the transfer case started shifting to four-wheel drive all by itself. Driving down the road, it shifted into 4 high, and then once it was parked, it shifted to 4 low. I put a new shift motor on it. That didn't take care of the problem. Took it to the dealer. That's whenever they replaced the tip-em on it and had the cluster rebuilt. that fixed the transfer case shifting. But after that day, if it's got a parasitic drain, if it sets for more than say 2 days, you turn the ignition on, the wipers won't have intermittent. It'll be low. It'll squirt washer fluid out the whole time, and the headlights come on. And after about 5 or 6 days, the batteries will be completely dead. Now, if you unplug the batteries and let it set for 2 days, it resets the computer, and you don't have the problems with the headlights and the wipers anymore until you don't drive it for a few days. And I took it to another shop, and he said that the CAN bus that the airbag module was getting on the high side was getting 12 volts instead of 5.
And all this started, all these extra problems started when you took it in and they fixed the transfer case problem. That's when these things started, right?
Yeah.
All right. So here's what I would do. Finding a CAN bus problem, the actual problem in it, let's say it's got a short to power or ground, that can be harder because you've got to find the location of that. But fixing it and the path you take is relatively easy. So we know that they've worked on the transfer case and the transmission. So I personally, if you brought this to my shop, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my voltmeter out, because you're claiming that there's 12 volts on this CAN bus. So I'll go to the CAN bus and I'll plug into it. And I'm going to plug into it right at that OBD2 connector under my dash. And if I see I've got more than the allowed voltage on it, I'll say, well, he worked on that transmission and on the transfer case. Let's unplug those. And when I unplug them, if I see the voltage drops back to normal because the CAN bus is still powered, I know my problem is in one of those modules, either transfer case or transmission. The TIPM was replaced. It could be in there. The transmission has had work done to it. Something could be in there. I'm going to unplug those. And if it drops down to normal levels, it's in one of those units. But if I unplug those and it still stays high, I'm going to go through and I'm going to unplug every module on that vehicle one at a time. And I'm going to try to think in my head which one's the most likely. But I'm going to unplug them one at a time until the voltage drops down to normal. If I've got every module that's hooked to the CAN bus unplugged and I still got voltage up there, I have a short to power on it somewhere. And that's a physical cut in a wire that's pinched somewhere that could have been done while it was being worked on, something pinched. But I got a very strong feeling from what I know about personal experience with this vehicle and many others with a CAN bus, that if you unplug it, you've got about a 99.5% chance that when you unplug one, it's going to go to the normal voltage, because it's probably going to be in a module, and that one module will drain the battery, and it'll probably fix all your problems once you get to the one that's dead.
John, thanks very much for the call. Good luck.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. The phone number to reach us, 866-594-4150. You're listening to The Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at The Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Jared. You're on The Under the Hood Show. Jared, what can we do for you?
Yeah, hi. I've got a 2016 Ford Explorer XLP, and about 2 weeks ago, we went out to our daughter's place and needed to put both their children's car seats in there, so we, for the first time, used that third row. And since then, after we put everything back to normal, went home and stuff, we get an airbag light on the dash. Now, would that be coincidence, or would there be something I need to look for? I kind of wiggled all the wires under the front seat and the first row back seat. I can't seem to get it to go off.
There is a passenger presence sensing system in there that knows when a full-size human is sitting in the vehicle, an animal is sitting in the vehicle, or a child seat. They go by weight. They know if it's empty, it should be X amount of pounds. They know by the amount of movement going down the road, whether it's a inanimate object like a laptop or a stack of books, or whether it's a person in a child seat. So they're really good about that to determine whether the airbag system should be on or not. But when that system fails, and it could be okay with the light off, but now you've had a car seat in there and it said, okay, we're in car seat mode now, it may be stuck there. Something may have failed in there. I bet if you scan this, you're going to get some history codes. And one of the history codes may be passenger presence module. And that could be a problem with the airbag system itself, or it could just be as simple as the sensing unit in the passenger front seat. Some of these vehicles now are putting them in the rear seats as well when they have rear airbag restraints, either airbags themselves, which a few vehicles have now, door airbags, roof airbags, and more particularly seatbelt airbags. They have inflatable seatbelts now because when the seatbelt is out and connected to a car seat, they want you to use the car seat tie downs because the seatbelts with inflators have to be turned off when they're run through an older car seat because there's no room for them. So they've got a lot of sensing stuff in these now, which is supposed to make everything safer, but sometimes I prefer sitting in the station wagon facing the back window with the glass open, or riding in the pickup bed. We don't get that anymore. Can you imagine the big people in charge now, how they would scream if they saw you riding down the street in the back of a pickup? But that's what we did. So I'm thinking with your car, the first step is let's scan it and see what the readings are. And if you have what says passenger presence system failure, they're going to clear it. It's probably going to come right back. And more than likely, it's going to be that pad in that passenger front seat, which is replaceable. They take the cushions off, replace the unit, put it back on, or you can get a good complete seat assembly. 16 Explorer, our friends over at car-part.com are going to have many options available for complete seats if you need one, because it's not too old, not too new, so there should be enough in the market, and it's not a super high demand item for all of us, so I think you might be able to find one. If you're just compare prices, though, you might be able to get that pad itself pretty cheaply.
I just want to. Sometimes I catch. Sometimes I catch one thing that a person says, and it makes me ask another question.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say you put the seats in the third row?
Yeah, we hadn't ever done that until that point.
That's either a small car seat or a small child, and somebody did some major acrobatics to get that car seat in the third row.
Yes, we did.
Because when you said that, I was like, that's unusual because normally the car seats go in the second row. And I've never, I didn't even know that they had the right anchors in the third row to hold the car seats.
I think they have them in second and third. Our truck has them in second and third.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm trying to think through the Explorers we've dismantled and how they're set up. And one thing did you ever unlatch the seats when you did it?
Unlatch?
Yeah, so to like have the seats fold down, move, doesn't that third seat fold? Third row?
Well, yeah, typically we've never used them until that point and then put them all back to normal so we can use that.
Why don't you, maybe you've already done this, but why didn't you take those seats and just reset everything? Lay it all down, click it all back, make sure it's all in place correctly.
I think the second row has some sensing in it, but the third row I don't believe.
No,
does.
but everything on that second and third row, if you were moving family around, putting seats in, messing with stuff, just try resetting everyking once.
And buckle and unbuckle the seats in those positions because they do have latch position sensors.
Just try that once if you haven't done that already. Okay. Just kind of run through the gamut of everything back there. Click it up, click it down.
Like opening and shutting all the doors.
Yeah, and maybe something is just hung up after using something that hadn't been used for a while.
Mm-hmm. Which is what we're thinking it might be.
Yeah, no, Russ is right on top of how that system works and what the plausible problems are. But before I got too deep in the weeds, that would probably be the first thing I would do is go back and look. And did something get pinched? Is like you said, check out the wires to make sure that there wasn't something that got caught in a latch or... they have those little plastic clips that hold things to the frames of the hinges. If one of them came loose and the wire got pinched in there on this, There's just different things that I would physically look for. And then you're right. Somebody's got to scan it and see what's going on. That system's totally readable.
Jared, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Mine can tell in the passenger seat the difference between a 12-pack and a 24-pack.
Of?
Doesn't matter.
Oh.
When a 12-pack's in there, the airbag won't be on. But when
Diet
a
Coke.
24 case is in there, it lights it so it won't send the airbag off, which I appreciate. I don't want it launching my...
Have you like
Soda
taken
all
cans out one by one to see where the switch points?
No, but I might now. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel and join the Hoodie fan club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
But nobody subscribed, so sorry, no hoodie
Oh,
Shoot.
Hey,
wait, we
more
have
hoodies
one.
for us.
for you. One. Yeah, I need a new one. I haven't got a new one for myself in a long time. Jerome Lusk, you are the winner of the hoodie.
Congratulations.
And
You
who brings us the
YouTuber, you.
hoodies?
Universal Technical Institute, UTI.edu, which stands for Universal Technical Institute, because there's some techie people there. They're car people, car folks. They know cars. They know how to teach you about. They're passing their knowledge on the way it should be, so they can get you. They can get you a good career. You can make money in auto repair instead of just spending money on fixing cars. You can make money fixing cars yourself, and then you can work on your own and get frustrated and go, "Oh, why did I get this old car? I
I
should."
wonder if I could break even on fixing my car
No,
versus
not
the
you.
money I would make as a tech.
Not you. You have too many
That's
breakdowns.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think so.
It's kind of a wash on that. Let's talk to Allison in Kentucky. Allison, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hello, I have bought a 2020 Ford Mustang. I've had it like 6 months. It's still under the Ford Motor Company warranty. And I notice most of the time, I usually don't, it's under 33,000 miles. When I put my foot on the brake to start the vehicle, I hear a clunk noise. I was wondering if that's something that's going to work its way out or if that's something serious. The warranty runs out on the car next month. Someone told me that if it doesn't show up on the dash that something's wrong, then there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know.
Well, let's just talk this through. Let's just make sure you feel good about it when we hang up, that we all feel good about this. First, I got to know a little more. 2020 Mustang. What model is it?
Echo.
Okay.
GT or
No, Echo. Is it? It's a 2.3 or not a 2.3, but
Right.
it's got the 4-cylinder turbo, 300 horsepower, whatever. Nice little motor in there.
That's it.
All right. And is it an automatic transmission or a straight stick? I think they're all automatics, correct?
It's automatic.
All right. And it's white, correct?
It's red.
It's white.
Oh, it is white.
Wow, look
No,
at you.
You're Shannon guessing right off the bat.
That was so lucky.
Not that it matters.
The car's new enough. I don't know if we would have played guess the color or not.
Right.
So I just figured
no, it's a Mustang.
it's a Mustang. We probably would have
And
done the Berkeley one,
It's-
guess your color. But
the Berkeley one thing is for classics. and collectibles and performance
okay.
cars.
So, anyways,
Uh,
I got lucky there.
But so they've got the EcoBoost in this car, and the EcoBoost on this, that engine is not known for. It should be the same basic thing like it goes in an Escape type platform. You know, you've got an automatic, you've got a small turbo engine, and there are not supposed to be any noises there in any of the EcoBoost family from the 6 cylinders on down. We just haven't heard a noise when you first start it. I'm concerned enough with I've only been in a couple of these new Mustangs. And when they started, they were smooth. And they were both the 4-cylinder turbos. They just started up and they were fine. We changed oil on them. So that's the only reason we had them, because they were good cars. I'm concerned that something weird is going on, whether it's a starter issue or something that's loose from the factory, a mount or something.
I'm going to go back to just finish my line of thinking here. I totally screwed it up with asking the color, just trying to be so clever. The clunk that you hear You said it's when your foot is on the brake and you start the car and release it? Or tell me when the clunk actually happens.
When I put it in reverse. I didn't tell you everything, I guess. When I put it in reverse, and the car will kind of like want to jump, like it wants to take off or something.
So when you initially take it out of gear, it's not that you're hearing something, because I just want to make sure you weren't like pressurized on your angle you were sitting, and maybe the parking brakes were releasing or something like that.
It wants to take off.
Yeah, it's trying to put pressure on it right away.
So they put it in reverse.
It's like I had a Carfax on it, and it did have a recall on it, and I had that repaired, and all that was a brake pedal assembly. I had that fixed, but it was doing that. It still does it. I mean, I put the foot on the brake to start the car, like you're supposed to do, and then I put it in reverse, and it kind of goes clunk, and it's like it wants to take off. And gosh, don't tell me it's transmission.
It's got the retro feature. The Mustangs used to always do that. From the 60s.
They programmed it in?
The 60s. You remember that, Shannon?
Yeah.
The Mustang 2s, the 66 Mustang, the 67. You put that little 3-speed shifter in reverse and it would go, and it'd take off backwards.
Yeah,
Mine didn't because it had a manual. But, they would do that. No, that's a joke. But they did that. Because the idle was higher than it should be. I'd want to know where the idle is on this car. Now, here's a great question for you. If the car is cold when you first start it and you put it in reverse and it does this and takes off in reverse and makes the clunk, if the car has been driven for an hour, you've really got it good and warmed up, and you start it and put it in reverse, is it better than when it started cold?
It doesn't do it at all, really.
Okay.
It doesn't do it at all.
Here's what I'm thinking is going on. This car, it's probably a normal thing you don't have to worry at all about, but it's something you have to get used to, because the way it's programmed, when the car is started, it has a higher cold idle than it probably should have, so that it's got some load on it and it's starting to go in reverse. If it was custom programmed, or if the factory comes out with a reflash, which they probably will, they usually have them at 6 months to a year.
Maybe.
And they may already have it. It will lower that idle speed down. I would go to your dealer, since it's still under warranty, and say, I have this problem with my car. My idle is too high when I start it up in the morning. I start it up, let it run for a few seconds, put it in reverse, and that idle is so high that it goes clunk and it pulls me in reverse and I don't feel safe. What can you do? So at the very least, if they say, no, it's fine, they've got to record this. And if enough people mention it, a service bulletin will come down the line, or a recall will come down the line and say, hey, these cars have a tendency to pull themselves in reverse faster than they should, so they're going to reset that cold idle down just a little bit. It's easy for the factory to change this. It's not easy for the shop to change it. Okay. So it's got to come down from the manufacturer. It's all
electronically controlled anymore. There's no throttle cable or set screw.
So if Allison does it, if she starts the car and lets it sit for 40 seconds, however long it takes for it to idle down, and then tries to put it in reverse, the difference should be there already, right?
Yes.
That's what we're assuming based on some over-the-radio diagnosis here.
But even a car that there are still a few cars that do this in reverse. Some of the Volkswagens did it, and Audis and things. If you let it idle down for 4 or 5 seconds, it should be normal. If it takes longer than that, it's not operating.
And if they say
ideally.
that it's normal, it'd be great if they had another one there that you say,
they should.
Can we go start this car up in another car just like it and see what it does?
Yeah. Did you say it was a 2024 Mustang?
2020.
2020. Okay. I changed that on my notes. 2020 in the show notes. There we go, Russ. I was saying, if that thing's out of warranty already, you got 36,000 miles on it. That's pretty impressive. So, all right. Yeah, it should have enough then.
Does that help you out there at least?
Yeah, well, I'm still not too sure about the idling part, because it doesn't run fast or high on the idling. Because I know you're supposed to tap the gas to bring the idle down.
Not on this. This should be automatic. It should automatically come down for you. It should be running about 700 or 600 to 700 when it's just sitting there in park.
But knowing that, Allison, that is what we are talking about, is that idle's not coming down
This is our
like
theory.
it would in
this is our theory.
Right, in a 20-year-old car because it's electronically.
I'm just going to wrap this up. I would go back to the dealer I bought it from and just tell them, hey, I have this concern. I know I'm under warranty yet. Can we check it out just to make sure? And they're going to either say, yeah, that doesn't seem quite right, or they're going to say, oh, they're all like that. And then you would say, well, can we go jump in another one? Do you guys have another one here?
Should be a 20 or a 21 around there.
Yeah,
somewhere.
something that's got the same drivetrain. Let's go do that once. And if it does the same thing, then it may be just the way they are.
Yeah.
I love the look on the faces when I've asked people to do that and they come in and say, yeah, you should have seen the look on their face. They got in mine and went, oh yeah, that's fine. And we get into others and they go, well, maybe.
I could have sworn.
Maybe.
Allison, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's go down to Texas and talk to Tony. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Tony, what can we do for you?
Hey guys, thanks for the call. I love your show. Learn a lot.
Thanks.
Yeah, I got a general question about keeping my small fleet of older cars running. I got a 07 Accord, a 07 Mazda 3, and a 09 Camry. They're all inline 4 engines. Daily drivers, mostly just around town, occasionally out of town, and they're between 120 and 140,000 miles. So my question is this: what are the items that I should replace preventatively to improve the odds that they won't break down somewhere and leave me or my wife or my son stranded? Aside from all the normal maintenance, fluids and belts and things, I'm thinking about all the plastic, rubber, electrical stuff that's pretty old at this point. I'm thinking like cooling system, the radiator, should I replace? It's all plastic now. I mean, one of them already went out. Should I replace the other two preventatively? That kind of stuff. What do you guys think?
Well, I've got friends with shops in Texas, and I've got people up here, and including myself, that we're running stuff up here. And you've got a good fleet of cars there. From what I'm gathering here, you don't have any timing belts in any of them, do you?
No.
That's good, because that's the big one. Radiators, you can have a radiator leak, and it's similar Texas weather compared to our sub-freezing tropical climate we have here. It's in the 90s today with humidity, and then it's going to be 1,000 below zero in the winter. And we see a radiator now and then in all three of these model cars, but it's just now and then. And down there, I gather the same thing in these vehicles.
Typically, they'll start to leak at the seams before they burst or break. So if you start seeing some sweating on the seams of the radiators where they put them together, because it's a plastic tank and an aluminum core, then I would replace the radiator. Otherwise, I would not do it. We see cars come in here with 250,000 miles on them and still got the original radiators in them.
I wouldn't mind seeing a coolant flush on all three of these vehicles and a transmission fluid change. Now, some of these are going to be just I think every one of these, all three of these, I think is going to be a drain and fill type change on the transmission fluid. Don't need a complete flush on them the way they're set up, but it's just nice to have. They like to they'll go higher miles, especially if they're on the highway with these model vehicles. But it's good to have a little change in them. So if at this many miles, if you just dump and fill the fluid on them, and the same way on the radiator, other than brakes, I mean, you've got some vehicles that are pretty good. I'd say lower maintenance for the general population of cars. You probably go another 100 and some thousand miles as far as the fluids that you'd need to worry about.
Yeah, the reason why I started thinking that was, like I said, one of the cars already lost the radiator. It was I don't know how quickly it was leaking, because
the Accord.
My son was driving it. Yeah, no, the Camry. My son was driving it, and he probably wasn't paying attention to the temperature gauge, but I don't know how long it had been leaking. So it could have been a while, could have been sudden. But it overheated on the highway, and he had to, it shut down, and he was lucky enough to be in a safe spot. But, I don't want that to happen again. So, all these plastic stuff that they use nowadays.
It is concerning when you look at the spaghetti soup that is the freeway, and you see out there. I don't want my car ever to break out there, but you're playing a dangerous game in your mind if you start trying to replace everything that could break. And you just got to watch.
Get a
for
flashlight. Look at those tanks on the radiators. If you see any seepage, replace it.
Yeah, but otherwise, we seriously have not a lot of radiator problems overall.
If Tony called and said, I need 3 cars that I want to drive around in town and never have a problem, these would be 3 cars that you would list.
I can't list any car that's never going to.
You
have
know
a
what I
problem.
mean, though. I mean, these are 3
good. We got an 09 Camry, and we've driven the wheels off it since 30,000 miles, and have not had a lot of problems overall.
Tony, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to Illinois and talk to Vincent. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Vincent, what can we do for you?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good.
So I have a question. I have a 2018 Silverado LTZ 5.3 liter. There's been a huge debate on this active fuel management and the harm that I suspect that it could cause with the lifters and what have you. Does it make sense to get the device that bypasses that and keeps it in VA mode the whole time?
Let me just say one thing here first. The huge debate is only between people that know they even have it.
Okay.
That's it. I'm following you.
You know where I'm at?
I like it. I got you.
The huge debate is only amongst people that even know it exists on their vehicle.
Or read about
Okay.
people that say they have problems because they have it or don't have it. So
I see.
here's
All
the
right.
thing. I own 2 vehicles that have this system on it.
You have one old generation and one new generation.
Uh-huh. And I left it. And I could turn it off. But I left it because I work on these cars. I put engines in these cars. And I know that those cheap lifters they put in these vehicles will fail whether they're unlocking and locking or not. So you might as well leave them to work. The pins are junk in these things. They're not real good quality. And when you combine that, you used to be able to have a great oil and a cheap part and things would work, or a great part and a cheap oil and things would work. Well, now they make a cheap oil and they make a cheap part. So something's going to fail.
That's quite the generalization, but I know what your point you're making.
Look, if you could have a chart that said, Vincent, here's a chart of why engines fail in vehicles. The top 3 would be camshaft lifters, and camshaft and lifters. That is what is failing in engines these days. They come in.
Those were pairs, otherwise that would be 6
Yeah,
for those counting at home.
They're all bad. So, yeah, they fail a lot. Now, a lot of it is because the metal is becoming cheaper and it's coming apart because the high pressures that are in there, the oil, they've removed zinc and ZDDP, and it just allows these things to fail. And we've talked about our partner, Justice Brothers, many times with the zinc and ZDDP and how important these things are. And that's why. And they fail. So, like in the case of mine, even though mine is not a flat tappet vehicle engine, I'm putting a ZDDP additive in every oil change. And I'm hoping that I'll never have, I'm hoping I'll never have a thing. It's replacing the zinc in the oil. If you have an older,
which has been taken out since like 07. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have an older vehicle with a flat tappet cam engine, no roller lifter, just a flat piece of metal on a flat cam moving around, if you put one of these engines in that's a rebuilt and try to run it without an additive, you'll destroy the cam. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. And a lot of times sooner, especially on a brand new engine that's not broke in, it'll just rip it apart as it finds those edges that it would normally round off and wear smooth on a brand new cam. It just gone. So for yours, if I own this vehicle, either brand new or with 100,000 miles on it, I'd be using an additive at every oil change, and I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't turn it off. I really personally don't think that turning it off or leaving it on is going to make any difference in whether or not the cam and lifters fail on any of these.
I've owned trucks like this since, a long time. I've had 14, 18, now a 22. And they've changed the systems over the years, like Russ said. Now the new 22 are starting in 19. They've randomized the cylinders that are deactivated to try to help everything. And they've really improved the technology a bunch. and they're still under so much pressure to get the corporate average fuel economy up. The half mile per gallon or mile per gallon or whatever they gain with this system across the entire fleet makes a big deal in their calculations. I've never worried about it myself, and I haven't had any problems either. I did have an Avalanche in 2007 that I lost a cam and lifters on at 20,000 miles under warranty.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I carry a spare set in the back of my cargo area, my 21, just in case I'm on the road and the place that's going to have to repair it for me says, we can't get those for 6 months. I have a set for you. Here you go.
That I don't.
You do not.
I do.
What
And
additives
I bought them.
do you recommend I buy for this? I just, because I'm all about preventative maintenance, and I've got, 16,000 miles on this truck. So.
The Justice Brothers additive is sold primarily in professional automotive shops like mine. So if you have a regular shop you go to, ask them if they carry Justice Brothers products and get that. If not, if you can't find it in your area, purchase a ZDDP. That's Zebra, David, Paul. ZDDP. A lot of people go, what did you say? I can't understand that, Russ. He's eating marshmallows again. Yeah. Anyways, you purchase it. It's going to be cheap, a few bucks for a small bottle, and you just pour it in because you're replacing the zinc that's been removed from the oil.
Just adds a little extra
make
lubricity
the environment
to it.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's made for high pressure situations because oil molecules compress.
And
without the zinc,
will his tech have a ZDDP additive that he prefers if he doesn't have Justice Brothers? Or is it a,
probably, hopefully they go, if they give you the look and say, what's that? Then you need to find another mechanic. But they're probably going to say, oh yeah, this is what we use in those engines. The older you get in cars, the more you've got to have. You've got to have a lead additive if you've got a really old one like I do. Or even the 60s and early 70s before they went to unleaded and hardened valve seats. And then you have to have the ZDDP additive. But I am now running the ZDDP additive in my new vehicles because it won't hurt it. But I'm running it in there because I'm thinking, hey, if I never have a cam issue, there might be something to that. And I've got a bunch of customers, too, that are also running this in these Ram trucks and things that have had the issues with them in caravans. Like, you know what? I'm going to give that a shot because it's way cheaper than what I just paid for these engines.
In those 3.6 liter engines.
Oh.
Vincent, you sound concerned about your mileage. We don't want to have you just thinking this truck's a pile because there's a bunch of them out there. And
it's a great engine.
Great trucks. Do you have, what's your oil change routine real quick? We got just a short bit of time here.
Yeah, I do it right at about 5,000.
Okay,
if not earlier.
Good. Yeah, just don't follow the light. Just get on your own routine. Do your good maintenance. The additive would be very helpful, but there's plenty of people that don't do it. If you use the Dexos oil from GM and what they recommend for the right oil, you're probably fine. But boy, this would be like a next step that can't hurt a thing, and it could sure help with that pressure inside your engine.
Vincent, thanks for the call. Good luck. That'll do it for this hour of the Under the Hood Show. Hour 2's coming up. The Under the Hood Show is brought to you by Sturdivant. Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. And Dennis has been standing by for a while here, listening to the intro and the music, ready to go. So let's get right to Dennis. You're on the Under the Hood Show, Dennis. What can we do for you?
Hi guys. I got a friend that she had an old Mustang. She had it in storage, and I helped her get it out. And he's done some heavily modifications to this engine, and it converted it over to E85 fuel. And he's got the E85 quick fuel carburetor on it. And we went to start it and everything, and checked it out. And we couldn't get the thing to run at all. And so we pulled the fuel lines, and I took the bowls off the carburetor. It was just like Vaseline. I mean, it's just a bunch of gooey stuff. I had to scoop it out with my finger. We got it cleaned out. Anyway,
you recommend any type of an additive to mix with the E85 so this problem would not happen again?
How long was this car sitting with fuel in it when this happened?
Well, she put it away, I suppose, probably last October, probably. So it's past probably roughly 6-7 months.
Were they driving it before that, like all summer?
Yeah, well, not all summer, but occasionally. Probably not enough, but yeah, she was driving it once in a while.
Well,
That didn't sound right.
no, I'm concerned for a few reasons here. So if you have a car sit a long time, the gasoline that's in the fuel, no matter what it is, will eventually turn horrible and look exactly the way yours looked. Alcohol never does that. That's why when you go to a restaurant and they say, we're charging you big bucks for this stuff that's been on the shelf for decades or a century, because it doesn't go bad. It gets better with time or whatever. Anyways, you don't have that. But if that didn't happen, if the fuel was fresh, no matter what was in there, I'm concerned when somebody says they convert a car. A conversion on a car like this means we take the fuel tank out, we look inside of it physically with a flashlight and see the condition. And if it's in good shape, no rust, and we put it back on, the next step of the conversion is going to be a new sock on the pickup in the tank. There's a little sock on there that just pre-filters the fuel. New rubber portions of the fuel line, and this Mustang will have one at the tank, and it'll have one up front near the fuel pump on the engine. It's going to get a new fuel pump due to the age, and a new fuel filter, and then a carburetor that's designed to run the higher mixture for this. If those were on the car, you would never have that type of a fuel issue unless the car sits for several years, probably 4 or 5 years, because with that high content of alcohol, the gasoline wouldn't go bad for a long time either. It just wouldn't fill up that much. But if this thing was converted in the way that a lot of people have done this, and they just throw a carburetor on it or something, you've got a lot of buildup of sludge and varnish in this system that's going to been there for a long time, and sitting is going to be like putting a greasy part in a solvent tank for 6-8 months. It's going to dissolve that, and it's going to start flowing through. One important thing to remember about a car like this, depending on the compression of that engine, it may or may not be friendly to run that high a blend of alcohol in the car. I'd be concerned about that. You know, it could have been I don't know, depending on the engine, it could be 10 to 1, 10.5 to 1, even 11 if it was a real high end.
I think it's closer to 11. They did the whole 9 yards on it. They put the new tank and new fuel lines and everything in it when they, but it's probably a 10-year build. It's been 10 years ago.
If they did this, I'm concerned there must have been something in that fuel, because
I'm wondering about the fuel that was used.
I have these ancient jet skis called wet bikes. They're a motorcycle with skis basically, and they have outboard engines in them. And I had 2 of them sitting in my shed for, what did we figure, 13 years, Shannon, or something like that?
Right around 13 or 15 years.
They run on E85 because they're very high compression. I did that to get performance out of them. Both of those vehicles, they're boats with their old original plastic, poly fuel tanks in them. That fuel was still good without any kind of additive in it after a decade. They were still running. All I did was add fuel to them and fired them up and ran them. And I'd start them up and run them for about 15 minutes every spring and hook the water to them. So the fuel was not a problem. My Model T has been sitting now for 2 years without coming out of the garage. And I just looked at it last week because there's an event, Cars for a Cause, tonight in Sioux Falls. And I thought, I might drive down to that. And it still fires up and the fuel still smells good. And it's got E85 in it. That's 2 years old. I got a lawnmower I haven't got out of the garage. It's buried in the back. That's why I need a new building. But it's buried in the back, and that fuel smells horrible. It's got 91 octane plain fuel in it. And it just, after a couple of years, it goes bad. So I'm concerned something else is there. What I would do is if I had this Mustang, I'd clean all that goop out of there. And if it's made to run on E85, fuel it back up, drive it, see what it does. See if it's good. It may have just had something in there somewhere that wasn't right.
All right, 69 Mustang. Don't tell us. This is a Berkeley classic for sure. Is it a GT or anything, or is it just a fat? What do we got going on?
Boss 302.
Anything fun going on?
It's a Mach 1.
Okay,
It's a
so
Mach 1.
what color is this car, Chris, Russ? I think for some reason I'm thinking gold.
My guess, well, now I wish you wouldn't ask trim stuff because then it always takes me out of the game.
Black.
I'm saying it's that kind of muted red they used to be.
Oh.
They're not like a chair, it was kind of just a flat red almost.
We've made our bets. Where are we at?
Well, Chris is closer. It's kind of a maroon.
All right.
Okay, all right.
I'll
A
take
maroon
that.
color.
Automatic or manual?
4-speed.
4-speed.
Fun car. Really high value.
Manual.
And the value is going crazy on those cars right now.
It's a fun car, yeah. It's a fun car.
Dennis,
Well,
thanks
for
very
calling.
much for the call. Good luck. Get that thing. If you need drivers.
Yeah, Chris
Let us know.
has got his program.
Doug, I just want to say he guessed yellow too, so I got.
Oh, we don't let Doug in on the guessing.
He got it. He
put
it up there.
Oh,
Yeah.
we got to make sure we let him get in on the game here.
Yeah, if he can.
Yeah.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the End of the Hood Show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the End of the Hood Show. Let's go to Michigan and talk to Brian. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Brian, what can we do for you?
Hey guys, I have a 2017 Ford Edge. I've had a couple problems with it since I've owned it. Ford replaced the engine around 60,000 miles. I guess there was a recall. And then around 100,000 miles, 105,000 miles, I had some transmission issues. So they replaced the torque converter and rebuilt the transmission, all under warranty. Within the last month or so, I've noticed when I get up to highway speeds and really try to put the hammer down and pass somebody or just get up to speed on the freeway, it seems like it's missing. So it feels like it's like missing on one of the four cylinders. Before I take it back to the dealership, I kind of wanted to figure out, is this a recurring transmission problem that I need to address with them, or is this something else like a bad coil or something like that? So I wanted to figure out from you guys what I need to do to kind of diagnose that before I take it back to the dealership. Of course, it's out of warranty now.
Because you must have bought an extended warranty. I must have 100,000 yet on the trans, or how'd that go?
Yeah, I think I bought it up to I think it's covered up to 125, and I just hit 127. So.
Well, you definitely you were one of the people that won the warranty game.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because that's an expensive transmission in that car. So what model Edge is it? Which motor is it?
It's the 4-cylinder turbo. It's a titanium.
I'm a little concerned, thinking that it's an ignition issue on the engine, more like a coil problem and not so much a transmission issue from what you're describing.
I don't really feel it. I don't feel it when I'm just driving around the city, but when I get up in the freeway speeds, it seems to really be noticeable.
Yeah, probably in the
sport mode and all that, just to see if it's it would affect anything, and it doesn't affect anything.
When you drop a gear, though, like if you step on it, if it's missing and you floor it, it goes away while it's held to the floor, right?
No, it feels like it's hesitating all the way while I have it floored.
Ooh, okay. Well, so you've got enough miles on there now that if they would have replaced this engine with a remanufactured at the dealership, they would have used your original parts, your coils, a lot of times even the spark plugs if they're pretty good. We don't do that. We replace them. But in this case, where your warranty, they use everything they can. They're told to by the manufacturer. So I would say that your coils, you got enough miles on them, enough age that, before you take it back to the dealer and spend money and diagnosing it and let them say, well, we're going to put these parts in anyways and it'll cost more money, I'd probably buy yourself a set of coils and spark plugs and put them in yourself and get the Motorcraft ones, the same ones they have. So they're, it's original equipment and they're not going to have the excuse to say, well, I know you've got these in there, but we want to put ours in there now to make sure everything's good. And that costs you a lot of money. So start with that. And if your problem goes away, you've won. Just like your warranty game, you've won it. And then you're good to go. But if you still have a problem and you need to take it in, at least you've got the basic tune-up maintenance stuff done. The plugs are in it. The coils are on it. You've got that off the table, so they're not going to hit you with that.
And you got no check engine lights on or anything like that, correct?
No lights, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that'll kind of lead you away from an ignition issue too. You could have a transmission issue going on, but typically they don't occur just at the highway speed like that. They occur at lower speeds. I've just had a couple through the shop here that they didn't fix. They were really rough cars, and they were jerking all over the place and at that first to second gear shift and up. They just really bad.
Brian, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Good way to. With YouTube, could I replace the coils on my 2017 Ford Edge? Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah,
about
there's certain Ford Escapes and things like that, which would be a lot harder.
Okay.
But that vehicle, they build a fair amount under the hood heat with that turbocharged engine, and that heat that breaks down components.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Mike. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Mike, what can we do for you?
Yeah, good morning.
Hey,
I have a 2021 Ford F-250. I just pulled the rear seats out of it. It's an extended cab. And the seats will never, ever go back in it. It's a work pickup, and we'll run it until it's no longer usable. But my airbag lights are on. And I was wondering if I can put a jumper in the plug-ins for them to make the airbag light go back off.
There are probably in the upfitter's guide somewhere, potentially a factory part number for when a seat is removed for an upfitter to put something in that area. Now, seldom, I'm going to be contradicting what I just said.
Was the belt?
Yeah, I was going to say, seldom do the upfitters get a lot of permission to do things inside as much as they have a whole guide for the outside.
Yeah.
Right.
Did when you took the seat out, did the seat belts come out with the seats?
I took them out, yep.
All right. I think our first step would be take your seat belts and just plug them back in. Don't have to install them. Just plug them in and see if the lights go out. If they do,
yep.
I think the retractors back there, the retractors can stay
I
in
took that out.
Yeah, and those are going to have an airbag piece in them for the pre-tensioners. Right. That's why you got a light. If you know the resistance of those, you can put a resistor in and it'll work, but you need to find out the resistance. The problem is you need a electronic form of meter to measure resistance, which is you plug them in, you look at the scanner, and you see what the data says for resistance. You got to get it exactly right, or you'll have an issue with the rest of the system and a light coming on and everything. You can't use a multimeter to check resistance because a multimeter uses voltage to check resistance. It sends a current through the airbag part, and
you would
go
potentially
boom.
Deploy the pre-tensioner.
Yeah, and although it doesn't
want to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't go poof, but it can move in such a forceful way that it's like putting a belt sander on the ground and plugging it in with the trigger held down. It's going to take off, and that retractor can move a lot when it goes off. So you don't want that. But the other thing is too, do like Shannon said, Google, removing seats from an F-250 airbag. Just put removing seats F-250 airbag and see if something pops up with those keywords that says, hey, have you removed your rear seats from your F-250? Plug in these resistors that we make and it'll fix your problem. I think that's where you need to go.
Could you put the seatbelts back in and hide them?
I could.
Or just
I could
leave
put
them.
the tensioners back in and just leave them there.
That probably might be your easiest option.
Yeah. And worth a step.
Yeah,
either way. Yeah.
Just leave them in there and hide them. If it's just going to be cargo and supplies and that sort of thing in the back, I'm sure that's probably the easiest path.
And who knows? Maybe if you got the seatbelt retractor there and the buckle laying on the floor, if you got some cargo back there you want to restrain, you just put the seatbelt on.
We went really simple on this on an earlier show. We had a thing about, we kind of went off on a tangent about the presence sensors. If that truck has an occupant presence sensor in the rear seat, then you got a whole nother thing to figure out.
If it's got pretensions and the retractors.
It might. That's why I think you gotta look to a Ford. I'm gonna bet there's an upfitter that's had to deal with this, and they've probably got a kit or something.
Mike, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Brad. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Brad, what can we do for you?
Hey, you guys were talking to that guy about the Mustang that he hadn't driven for very long, or for a couple of years or whatever. I have a 70 Ford with a 302 that's the motor's been rebuilt and all. So I haven't driven it for about 5 years. Do I have to replace like the oil filter and points and all that stuff, or just basically the gas?
When you got a classic truck like that that's been sitting, and I don't care, not even classic, and I am going to be a complete hypocrite as I say this right now, because I was just looking at something the other day in my garage, and I realized that in my one vehicle that just sits there, I haven't changed oil in it in 3 years. And what you get to wondering about is eventually the oil, if I put a high quality oil filter in there, so I feel pretty good about it, but that oil will start to break down the filter cartridge inside.
It's cardboard.
And then when you start it up, you start moving that material around, and it can cause some problems. I've had plenty of vehicles that I've lived sitting, and I've never had a problem, but I've talked to plenty of people that have had problems with this. And so, changing out an oil filter is probably as big of a deal as anything for when it sits. And the oil, depends. Was it in a climate controlled storage with heat and air conditioning, or no?
No, just in my pole barn. So
I would swap out the oil filter, and I really wouldn't worry about the gas yet. Give it the sniff test. And if it smells, if it smells horrible and it won't run, you're probably gonna have to change it. But if it smells like a little bit of varnish, but not real bad, and it'll fire up and run, fire it up, run it, and then take the cap off and take a flashlight and look at the points. If they're not rusted up, it might run okay, but points are cheap. Get yourself a dwell meter, and they're cheap. You can even get one off of Amazon, super cheap. But points and a condenser, they recommended those every year on those cars, just because, and trucks, because they age, they wear. That was their normal life, and a set of spark plugs. But if it runs good or okay with the fuel you have in it, just run it down low and fill it up. If you told me 7 to 10 years, I'd be like, yeah, let's pump that thing out of there first. But it could still. Today's gasolines aren't the best, but they hold up for a while. You might actually be okay to.
I'm going to say this, and then my luck will change. But that 79 Trans Am in my garage, I've added a little fresh fuel every now and then. I don't drive it more than a couple miles, and it continues to start and work, and the fuel's hanging in there. I put an additive in there. It's kind of amazing to me.
Just smell it. If it smells good, it's like milk, 5-6 years, if it still smells good,
go ahead and drink it.
No.
Brad, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the like bell. Or the subscription bell, the like button on this episode and all the stuff. You could win a hoodie.
Like Corey Richardson. Congratulations from our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, UTI.edu.
Let's go back. Brad called back good because we forgot to get some info from him, but he has a follow-up question. So we're going to real quick join back with Brad. Go ahead, Brad. Oh, wait, I have to actually answer it this time. Okay, Brad, go ahead.
When you do that Berkeley's insurance, can they tell you the value of your pickup?
All right, so here's the thing.
You got this.
Yes.
Berkeley One
kind
Classic.
of.
They'll tell you what they are. They will tell you exactly what their value of it is.
Well,
Russ knows this pretty well.
No.
64 years old, by the way.
They've been around. Really? She's 64? No way. She's a Berkeley One Classic, that's for sure.
We were talking off the break about Madonna being in the hospital.
I never would have guessed. I was thinking like 61.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, so Berkeley One Classics, they've been on our show for over a decade. Great company. Shannon and I have cars with them.
I just got all my new insurance cards in the mail.
Trucks, yeah.
I get to go put them in.
I did too.
I took a picture of me putting the Berkeley One insurance card on the Ford tractor in the lobby. Like, where do you put it? And so I'm going to use that on a social media post here pretty soon.
Just tape it to the fender,
Yeah.
you know. So they cover classics, antique vehicles, car parts while you're restoring your car that aren't bolted to the car, cars that are being restored in process of it, cars that are performance cars, like a new type of car, collectibles basically, and they don't have a mileage limit, but they know that your vehicle is not going to be it's not a daily driver. If you're driving it to work every single day as a grocery getter, that's not the company for you. But if you're driving this on weekends for taking it to parades and car shows and
pleasure cruise here and there,
because it's a valuable car or truck, you know, that's what you want. They do that, and they have really great rates. But when you go to this price, they have what's called agreed value. So you and Berkeley One Classics agree on the value of this 1970 Ford pickup. And if you say, I've looked at the market, I see that most of these are going for about $20,000, but mine's a little cleaner than those, or it has a few more parts those don't, I think I want to insure it for $25,000.
But it has bad gas in it.
Yeah. When you call them, they're going to say, all right, we have a range of what they're going for in this market. We know what they're going for, and you fall in that range. So it's going to cost you this much, and we'll do that. If they say, whew, Brad, we don't want to say you're crazy, but you're nuts. We'd like to see this vehicle. Then they might look at it and go, oh, hey, you're right on. Actually, you're a little low. We got to go a little higher because this thing's got the option that only 50 of these had. And
they watch really auctions. They watch the market. So
they know. And if you did call them and just say, I have no idea at all what's this worth, they're going to ask you some questions like, you know, what are the miles on it? What does it look like? Is there rust? No rust? What engine's in it? And they can say, okay, you know what? We've seen these insured for this dollar to that dollar. And then you can agree on the value. The best thing about it is, though, if a tornado takes the building out, if it's totally destroyed in a collision, burns down to the ground, whatever, you know what the value is. Right. And the check's going to come to you for that amount. Right. They're not going to say, well, you know, they've gone down in the last 6 months, so we're only going to pay you this much, which is horrible.
Let me just put it into I think a pretty good bouquet for you here. They are the bumpers in bumper bowling, because they're not going to guarantee that they got a strike on this thing, but they're not going to let you get too far one way or the other.
There you go.
And they are going to tell you, if you say it's worth something, they're going to say, yep, that's in that range. And guess what? If you'll pay us a premium for that amount, we'll insure that because it's reasonable.
Yeah.
Now, if you called up and you had a 72 Bug that was all rusted out and you wanted to insure it for $125,000, they're not going to let you do it because you're probably up to something.
I got one in my parking lot.
I saw that.
They're not going to let you do it, even if you did pay the premium. I mean, they're an insurance company. They have underwriting. They have risks. They look at the risks. So that's how I look at it. And I've like my 79 Trans Am that people have heard me talk about before. When I first got the car, I think I had it insured for $50,000 or $45,000. We've raised that way up every couple of years when I've seen different auction results, watched the market move on it, and now I'm paying a higher premium for a higher agreed value than I was when I first bought the car. So does that help you understand? But they're not going to give you an appraisal. Just put it that way.
Yeah, perfect. Does that make sense, Brad?
Well, I saw a 70 Chevy pickup that was nothing special, 2-wheel drive, the other night, and the guy wanted 16.5 for it. I just didn't realize that these pickups were bringing that.
Well, here's what happens. Here's what happens.
This is a good.
Yeah, I love this
note here.
Here's what happens. People watch Mecum, Barrett Jackson, and they see a 72 Chevy pickup sell for $150,000, and they're like, "I got one of those." You don't have one of those. You might, but you probably don't. And then there's certain genres and certain categories that just kind of take off all of a sudden. And the Chevy trucks are doing well. The Ford F-Series older trucks are doing well too. I think the Chevys are outpacing them. But boy, you all of a sudden see a classic Ram go across the block. Crazy all of a sudden. I call it a Ram, but a Dodge pickup. So it all depends. But Facebook Marketplace is the same way. People see, and I can be guilty of it myself. Well, yeah, this car's got to be worth $10,000 because I saw one sell for this. You really kind of got to know the market and what the condition is and what the point of restoration is and how many stupid people are actually watching the same show as you, and then they write the money, and then later they're really guilty about what they bought because they didn't have any inspected. And I have seen more people buying these in this era of reality auction, let's call it. Is that a thing? The reality auction?
Yeah, I think so.
There are more people that I've ran into in shops when I go out and I do my ride-alongs with the delivery drivers, and I go into collision shops that do restorations yet. I'm going to tell you every time. This is Russ. I don't like using every. This isn't every. Every time I've been out on the route and I've stopped in a shop that does restorations, they have a project in the shop that was something that somebody else bought that they thought it was something else, and they got it home and it was not, and they're fixing it. There's quite a number of cars getting glazed over to look nice. They're getting put up on sale, and they're not very nice cars underneath the lipstick on the Bulldog. And so getting those inspections done, having professionals that are in the trade look at it, not just to tear apart the paint job and say they saw a couple of dirt flakes in it or they didn't quite tape off well enough around the edges, but somebody that can actually look to see what's been done to this thing.
I lifted up the carpet and went, there's a hole there, and on the bottom side it's covered by undercoating.
Yeah, it's just, that stuff is, it's sad, but in this era of reality auction, you're seeing some of that.
But if you got a 70 Ford pickup and it's not rusted out, there's no holes in the floorboard, the body's solid, it runs and drives well, and it's, nice truck. Over $10,000 is not out of the question. In that $15,000 range is not out of the question. And if it was painted and really nice, or if it was like, let's say, if that thing was like a 50,000 mile original 70 truck and you could wax it up and make that thing shine pretty good and it looked like it was about 10 years old, it might be a $17,000 truck.
Or more.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to guess. We've spent a lot of time here with Brad, but good questions. His 70 Ford pickup, which very well could be a Berkeley Classic, is green.
I say it's blue. Russ?
I think it's that yellowish.
Yellow. Doug is busy, so he can't answer. Brad, what color is the pickup?
It has been repainted to the original color, and it is lemon lark yellow.
Oh, wow. I love it.
Oh, it's repainted. So repainted, no rust. Let's say over 15.
Yeah, you start poking around in a lot of different sources. Look at Hemmings Motor News. Look at even Car Gurus and some of those different. Just look in a lot of different places to see what's for sale out there, and that's how you gauge a market.
Brad, thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Dale. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Dale, what can we do for you?
Yeah, I've got a 2004 Impala, and the blinkers, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And I had found that, I thought, I wonder, are the flashers, do they work? So I turn the flashers on, they work, then the blinkers will work again. It's like it wakes the blinkers up when you put the flashers on.
Multifunction switch.
Sure of that? Yeah.
I can say that 3 times fast.
Don't.
I won't.
Okay.
2 is usually my limit. So the switch there in the column, when you push the turn signal, the hazard 4-way flasher button in, it changes the configuration of the switch inside to run the wiring a little differently in this model car. Some ones are different. Some of them just go through the body control module, but this one changes it so that if it's not making good contact in the turn signal position and you turn that thing on and off, 5-6 times, click, 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 then you turn your switch on, it might work for a few days or a month or 2 or a year, and then it goes back to it and you move the thing around again or just wiggle it around real good, it might start working again. Typically, the fix for this is just to replace that switch that's on your column there. Very common failure on these vehicles. We see a number of them on the W body cars like that. The Grand Prix, the Impalas, the Buick Centuries, they had this issue. Park Avenue, LeSabre. So more than likely, it's just that multi-function switch.
Dale, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Prepare to learn something. You're going under the hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Don in New York. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Don, what can we do for you?
Yes, hi, gentlemen. I have a problem. I have a 2014 Taurus. It has about 127,000 miles on it. I just went out to start it, and it won't start. And I'm getting a service advance track warning on it. This never happened before, although I did have a yellow engine light for the last day or two, which I haven't had a chance to put a scanner on yet. So, and the bad thing is I can't start the engine. So that's where I stand.
When you go to start it, is it not cranking or just not? Is it cranking and not firing? What state are we at here?
It won't crank at all. I get warning lights and stuff, but it won't crank.
I'm concerned you've got a bigger issue coming on. You got those warning lights, but are there some things that are dead on the dash that should be lit when you turn that key to the run position? Are you missing anything? Like the check engine light, is it not coming on when you turn the key to that run position?
Well, I got several lights. I've had the regular yellow check engine light for a couple of days, but now I have this actual written warning service advance track.
Sure.
And the bad thing is, when I this has the key that you press the brake pedal and then press the button to start it, and it's just not doing it.
Well, you're not hard. Yeah, what you're getting at is you're not hardwired to the starter anymore like you used to. You push a button and there's a starter relay that runs this. It cycles the engine for a certain amount of time, and if it doesn't fire, then it stops cranking it. With those setups, people get a lot more nervous when they don't work. I went to move one of my dad's cars late last night, trying to get a jet ski out before the weekend, and the battery was really low on it. And I pushed the button, and I had a little bit. I was already tired, and I had a little bit of time, and it went. No, and it came to life. I was like, "Oh, thank you," because I just didn't want him to have to mess with it right then. That was one that didn't have a battery tender on it, and but there, I know the feeling. It's just like, okay, now what am I going to do? That advanced track light could just be on because you've got a power or a connection issue, and that could be making that system not
even a low battery.
Right. That's why I'm just wondering if this could be something simpler, and you just got to maybe check it out first with the battery, the connections, even a nicely placed booster pack, just to see if anything changes. I really am optimistic that you could just have a battery or a power situation going on. Russ, what do you think?
I'm kind of thinking that too, because I've seen this when we have cars come into our shop for repairs and we need to start them and the battery's low, so we need to get a jump pack out there. Occasionally we'll go hit the button, nothing. It'll just go click and it's dead. It says service advance track, lights are on, it won't do anything. We're like, well, the lights are on. Why, the dome light's lit bright. Why is it not starting? And if I use a meter and check at the battery, I might only have 9.5 volts, 10 volts, and that's not enough to allow that thing to auto crank. Whereas if I had a key and turned it, it would go click, 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 click.
You'd have some optimism that, hey, I got a little bit of battery left.
Then I go, oh, it's dead. It's a low battery. But with the push button, it won't even attempt to crank it if it's too low because it knows it could do some damage. So it may just be a battery thing. You might want to try to just look and make sure the cables are clean and tight, and then try to jump it. Have you tried to jump it yet with a jump pack?
No, this just happened. I needed to go out on an important errand, and for the first time, the car will not start.
Yeah.
So it's a surprise to me.
I'm hopeful that you just got a battery issue, and it might have just decided.
And now you can as long as you can turn the car on with the button but not start it, you can still plug a scanner in and read those codes. But since that light's been on a couple days, the light may be on because it had a charging system problem. That could have been telling you your alternator has failed, because some cars don't have a charge light anymore, a battery light. The battery light is the check engine light saying, what are you checking on the engine? Check the charging system because we're not charging properly. And then now the battery is just decreased over a couple days and finally died, and it won't crank. So hopefully that's all it is, and it's a cheap repair. Maybe it needs an alternator, and they could throw that in and charge it up, and you're good to go.
Don, thanks very much for the call. Good luck, and thanks for calling us and being on hold while you were supposed to be doing that errand. You know, that's a good way to do it. Hey, I can't come. I'm on the Under the Hood show. 866-594. I've used that.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
4150.
A little more plausible when you're a host.
Let's talk to Jim. You're on the Under the Hood show. Jim, what can we do for you?
Hey, my brother, we got a 2018 Ford Escape. The rear hatch. Been working awesome. Shut it like the other day. Everything clicks. The one clicks on the dash, the one clicks back at the door, the one will click on the key fob. It refuses to open. So I took the inner panel off to find a manual release. I cannot find a manual release.
For the hatch or for the glass?
For the hatch. The glass doesn't release on this one.
Yeah, so there is a release that requires a screwdriver to open in the bottom there. Once you pull that off of there, the little electric...
Pull that inner panel.
Yep, pull the inner panel, then you're going to see the little electric motor with a plug-in on it that is part of that latch assembly down there. And you'll see a little piece of metal in there that looks like it has a slot in it. It's just a piece of metal, and it's pretty flat, hard to do anything with. If you put a screwdriver on it and push it, basically just try to push anything to one side or the other that doesn't look like it's permanently bolted down, and you're going to hit the one that goes toonk, and it's going to open. I've had these in the shop and had to open them manually so we could replace those hatch motors and things on them to get them to open. You know, in the worst case, if you just couldn't figure out how to get it open, if you broke that motor off of there, the motor moves the lever and undoes it. And it's likely, if everything else is working with your buttons, that you could go back there and unplug the motor and put a voltmeter in there, and if you hit the button and it lights up and the voltmeter works, well, that's telling you that latch is bad anyways.
That didn't work.
It doesn't light up and power anything?
Well, I got power. It just clicked.
Okay.
It clicked, but it would not release putting 12 volts directly to it.
But I'm saying if you've unhooked the wire and you find that the wire has 12 volts to it, when you activate the system, then you know the latch is bad and you can just break it to get it open. Break the motor off it and pull it and open the hatch.
Okay, because they're telling me to take a bar and take a hammer and hit that, break that down there, but I'm not real comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I mean that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is try to unbolt it and get it loose. But yeah, you should be able to get in there. There should be a tab in there to move to open it. But yeah, you can break. It's just plastic. It will break as long as you're not pounding on the gate and you're pounding on that piece of plastic, on the motor piece that sticks out of it. You're better off.
My success rate of breaking things off to access the innards is very poor. It always goes way worse than I expected.
Yeah, and they're like a
slip.
They are so.
I cut my hand. I break it off, and I still can't get at the hidden jewels that I'm after to get at. You know
what you need.
A dead
blow.
No,
hammer.
You need a little more than a dead blow hammer. If you're actually going to go down that road, I'm going to guess that you got the rear carpet stuck in there and it's all jammed up, and it's so much pressure on it can't release it.
Maybe. Oh, here, yeah. Before you, if it's clicking, but it's clicking and not opening, right?
Yeah.
If it clicks but doesn't open, have somebody push from the outside, push it hard to like close, hit it so it clicks to open, and then release it.
He's done that. He's like he's been down all the roads.
Get a big chain, stick through the gate.
Doing everything but taking a sledgehammer. I told my brother not to buy. He bought the Ford. I'm a GM man. He bought it.
Well,
me.
when you got on the call, you said, "Brother." I didn't know if you were calling me or Chris or Russ brother, but this actually is his brother.
I thought you guys owned it together. I thought you went in and.
No,
I have a 72 Chevy and a 67 Chevelle and
All right.
a 2012 Silverado. I have all the toys.
Yeah. Hey, the Chevelle, at least you could crawl through the back seat and you knew exactly how to open the trunk. We did that mining for treasures when we were kids all the time. I was the one that had to go in because I could fit through the smallest of holes.
They just shove you through.
Yeah, I was the canary.
You can still fit through that little hole in the back seat, I bet you.
A lot of them I can.
That's how I got to the Minnesota State Fair for 4 years in the trunk of a car. My brothers worked out there, so I'd ride in the trunk of the car and go to the state fair every day, all day.
Oh, they're going to send you a bill now.
No money.
Now, hey, go ahead and look at YouTube. Somebody might have been just bored enough to put a video out there of how to release that manually.
I bet 1,000 people.
It starts with a picture of a dead blow hammer.
That's all you need. That's the tool. I've used that thing more than any other tool since I got it.
We open a ton of hatches in our inventory building with manual mechanisms, and they typically always can get in there and find a way to release that latch without having to break it off.
And YouTube will there'll be multiple different things that contradict each other.
I wish my guy was on the show here because we do this daily. When we inventory cars, we seldom have keys for the wrecks.
Sure.
We got to figure out how to get them open, and they get to be experts at that stuff.
All right, welcome to the after show. We've got a call waiting. I'm going to answer this, and then I'm going to leave the studio for a minute.
You can't do that.
Can't I?
I
All right, I can wait. We'll see. Let's talk to Tim. You're on the Under the Hood show. Tim, what can we do for you?
Yes, I was about to buy an '02 Saturn, and I did it. I did it. I told my brother I had to take it home and check it out.
Good idea.
And so I got it up on lifts. And I got under there and I started looking around, and that cross member that goes underneath the engine on the driver's side had 2 or 3 holes that were about 3/4 of an inch rusted through. And I was wondering if that part is available and how much it would cost to fix that.
Well, I tell you what, Tim, I'm glad you did that. Because that is a common,
so am I. So is my whole family.
That is a common problem in this part of the world is corrosion on subframes and underbodies of cars and you don't see it. You can see a good-looking 2007 Ford Escape sitting there, and it looks great, and then you get it up on the hoist, and there's hardly anything holding the engine in it anymore in the suspension, and it's a dangerous situation. So to answer the question, they, for some reason, I know the reason, based on cleanliness and maintenance and where they're used at, don't all do it. But the ones that don't get an underbody wash very often or that sort of thing, that corrosion from the road, the salt, the grime, it all builds up on top, and then it just rots its way through from the top down because there's no drain holes to get it out of there. So we can occasionally find in our area ones that are not rusted. Because look at the cars on the road. They're not all rusted out. Well, maybe some are and they don't even know it. They're just driving a very dangerous situation and They don't know it. But otherwise, within our world of automotive recycling, we can go to car-part, one of our partners.com, and we can select parts, and you'd look up engine crossmember if it's what I think it is, and then you find and you set your location by a southern climate. And so you search into areas where they don't have the additives on the roads as bad. You go to Texas, you go to somewhere else, and you buy that part in that part of the world, and then you just make sure you ask and guarantee that it's not rusted out. And there's certain cars, I don't think this '02 Saturn falls into it. For a long time, a certain year of Chrysler Pacifica front subframe was selling used for $1,800 if it wasn't rusted. Finding a not rusted one was hard, so supply and demand took over, and what should have been a $150 or $200 part was all of a sudden an $1,800 part. Because there was people competing to buy the cars with clean subframes on them. There's some cars, like there's some Mercedes that the rear suspension cross members rust out on, certain mid-year Mercedes. There are companies that are making replacement cross members non-factory, because the factory cross member might be $1,900 for this older Mercedes. Well, maybe a company that comes in and sells one, and it's like Dorman or somebody else, they redesign it, they just make the product new and better. They might have one for $650 that's available. And same thing with drive shafts and this sort of stuff in these all-wheel drive cars. But they're available. But it might take a little looking, because I'm going to just finish my thought with that '02 Saturn is not a popular enough car overall in my opinion, from what I think I know, that Dorman or anybody else is going to be able to made a product for it because they don't have enough mass out there to substantiate the investment in making them. And so you're probably going to be relegated to looking for a non-rusted one from another climate. Does that help you?
I see. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't spend the money.
Yeah, so that's for Tim, that means you're just not going to buy this car, right?
I would unless you can do the work yourself and the car is extremely clean otherwise, and it's got low mileage or something very much that makes you excited about the car. You love the color. I mean, I don't know. That car better be cheap.
127,000 miles, so.
Yeah, and those is it a double overhead? Is it a double overhead cam motor or a single?
Single SL1.
Okay, that they
5-speed.
They ran out for a long time. The double overhead cam motors, and I would walk away from the car.
When's the last time someone's been really excited about a 02 Saturn?
Today.
02 and today.
If it's really clean, manual trans with that kind of miles, if the air conditioning works and there's no rust under the frame because the body's plastic, but under the frame area other than this subframe, and you could pick it up, let's say for $1,000
or less.
Yeah, and then you can fix that frame, and you're into that frame part for let's say another $1,000. So you got $2,000 in the car. It might be a $3,400 car.
Yeah, you got a good car.
Yeah, it's a good car.
Don't go crazy about it though.
Yeah, don't go too crazy. See if you don't want to do the work and buy something else different.
Yeah, I know of two other Saturns that had the exact same problem. It was on the left side. The right side looked like it was right out of the factory.
It's because of the way they collect the dirt.
There are some of these that if you go ahead and you look, not Saturns, but other vehicles where eventually the manufacturers have had to step in because it becomes a safety concern and they become
cradle babies,
recalls or buybacks or
was
that
it the
sort of
Corsica or Beretta or
no,
something?
No, the cradle babies we had were getting all of them. It was the
Cavalier,
Grand, the Grand Prix, Cutlass Supremes,
really?
Luminas,
W's, huh?
88 through 95.
Oh, the W body
Yep,
cars.
Yep.
So they would fall out, right? The back.
Yeah, the rear cradle would rust out, and they would drop the back of the drivetrain.
Better than the
down.
front.
Yeah, yeah.
Tim, thanks very much for the call. Good luck with whatever other car you end up getting.
Yeah, when you're in that price range, you've got to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
And thank goodness that I hope they're regular listeners to the show, and they've taken us up on what we've said for 30 years. A good physical inspection up on a hoist for an older car is in our part of the world for sure is worth its weight in iron.
Good one.
There you go.
In plastic.
Yeah.
Plastic.
Tim, thanks very much for the call. Have you read your 90s edition of the Car and Driver
it's
yet?
still sitting there. I might take it to the lake with me.
There's
with my sisters.
There's a feature piece on Saturn.
You know what? I will make a point to pull that out and bring it with me.
That one's very interesting. So
scanning YouTube the other day, I came across a channel and I got it saved. I'm going to watch it, and it starts out. The guy says, "Yeah, when I heard they wanted to bring them all back and crush them, I hit it and said I don't have it anymore. It was stolen."
Was it about a Saturn or a GM EV?
Yeah, it was an EV1.
EV1.
And he still got it.
I've watched one. I know you have too. I think documentary type show on those.
GM wants it back. They're like, that's not your car, and so we'll see. I'm sure it was more hype than it was.
It might have been a hook,
but boy, all those years, yeah, they were supposed to get them all back.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that was cool. That was the starting of the crazy era. We were talking, on the show here, range anxiety.
Yes.
What people don't know that don't drive electric cars. I mean, I've got range anxiety and I don't drive an electric. We've driven a few, but I'm just like, I don't know if I could drive one. This all started for two reasons.
I have a note in my phone to talk about this, separate from what you were thinking.
I was sitting downtown at a restaurant, and my wife and I were there for breakfast and for dinner. We were there so long. And we listened. It was great. Not at the same place.
Not at in town. Not at the restaurant.
All right.
Downtown.
Like, could you guys leave?
No, we were at the whole area. Well, we have done that. Have you ever done that? Where you're there, like you eat lunch and then you end up, we should order. We've done that at Under the Hood Show meetings where we're there for lunch and we're like, should we just order dinner? But
yes.
It gets a long time. But we're at two places downtown and we listened to people saying, oh, yeah, those electric cars, they get horrible gas mileage. They get, and they said gas mileage and they're electric. They can't go more than 50 miles. And where are you supposed to get them fueled up? And we laughed. My wife goes, are they nuts? Yeah, they're nuts. And then somebody else said, "Oh, I hear they're getting 700 miles now. I should get one of those." We're like, they're definitely nuts. Who's worse? But I realized how many people just don't have a clue. And I wouldn't know unless I owned the car and drove it to know what it has, because I don't believe what they're saying. I mean, they nicknamed the Ford the range liar.
Mm-hmm. And that's what that was.
Because it was so off.
I never said that article very good, but yeah, they started the car and took off, and it showed 120 miles of range, and all of a sudden it was 10. It just dropped.
Well, Ford, what prompted me to talk about this on the show today, on the after show, is because Ford just sent a YouTube video out that says how to plan your cross-country road trip. Did you guys get that?
No.
It says, with an EV. And I thought, you guys are crazy. And then last night I'm watching the story on the newest Buc-ee's in Sevierville, Tennessee. And they were building it when I was down there a couple years ago at Christmas. And I thought, that place is ginormous. And when I say, if you've been to a Buc-ee's, you know how big they are. This was ginormous compared to a Buc-ee's. I think it was 192 gas pumps. Oh boy, that's
on my road trip to Florida, I stopped at Buc-ee's. I was like, "Wow, this is a big Buc-ee's." And then on the way back, I stopped at one that was easily 3 times as big as that one.
You weren't in Tennessee, were you?
No,
because the ones in Tennessee now are big. But the owner that owns the place said, I think his name is Beaver, something. Anyways, he was on there last night, and he says, I don't want to upset my friends in Texas because this isn't the biggest. I got one down there that's a few square feet bigger. I got to keep my Texas friends happy. I'm like, all right. So, wow, that place is huge. But what got me and how this all relates, they had along the outside, they had a row of Tesla chargers. I think they had 60 Tesla chargers down the row. And there were quite a few of them with people charging as they went through. So they're getting to be more. And now that they have adapters where you can charge other vehicles with some of these, they're interchangeable, that helps. But I still, myself, as a non-EV person who knows about EVs, quite a few things about them, and has seen the variety of ranges, if I was retired and on a trip that I didn't have to worry about how long I would be on this trip and wanted to sightsee, I would have no problem with one. But if I have to rely on a car to get me on a vacation from A to B, no. Think of how you feel when you're driving across country and your gas gauge says E and you're looking for the next gas station. It seems like it is miles away. And you keep staring going, oh boy, am I going to make it? I'm on E. It's dinging. Only 22 miles left. Only 15 miles left. Only 5 miles. And it's been dinging the whole way. And you're going, oh. What do you do when you look at your gauge and it says 50 miles, 30 miles, 10? And you're like, whoa, that's going down faster than the miles.
I shut it down on the back straight when I'm doing that.
There you go. So
cruise for a while.
I would have, I'd say I got range anxiety and I don't even own an electric vehicle.
I have got some bad news that I just discovered.
What's that?
My range on my Toyota is now accurate. So in the past, it would say 13 miles left, and then it would ding. It would say low. And then I would go and I would have, I would fill it up, and it would still have had like a gallon in there or 3/4 of a gallon.
Talking about the Prius?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I know is about
3/4 of a gallon.
30 miles at the right, in the right circumstances.
It's like 5 for me.
Right. And my son's car, when I had his for that year, his would say low 0 miles, and it would still have 2.5 gallons left, which was about 40 miles. So I felt pretty good about it. The last 2 times I've gotten the low light on my car, it puts in the appropriate amount of fuel. Like it'll say 13 miles left, and then I'll go fill it, and it'll be like I put in 9.7 gallons of the 10-gallon tank. So it's good that I know that it's accurate now. But I used to not have to worry. I'd see low and I'd go, I know I got 30 miles left. I don't anymore. So now I have to pay attention to it.
When the Camaro gets to 41 miles, it clicks to 40. I never see 40. It says low fuel.
Yeah. Mine's 13 on that.
And I have learned the second it does that, I look for the first gas station I see, and when I put fuel in the tank, it has about a half gallon. If I say I have 40 miles and I want to go 10 more miles because I'm good for 10 miles, I'll go to my normal gas station. It will run out of gas. So when it goes ding, I go right there. I'm pulling over. I'm getting fuel. It's like squirrel, ding, gas now. The Monte Carlo, when the low fuel light would come on, it would be basically like this. Ding, 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 low fuel. Oh, I'm low. Are you serious? Twice. Didn't you come get me on the way to the radio show one morning?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. I turned around the loop on 220. I'm going, and it says I have 30 miles, and I'm making the big wide corner around the cloverleaf thing. And as I'm making the corner, the gas is going to one side, and it's. I thought I could make it to 10th Street.
I've ran out twice pulling snowmobile trailer trying to keep up with the crowd, and embarrassingly pulled in by a Dodge. I've told that story before. Back to the gas station.
Isn't it amazing how much more fuel your car will suck when you're like standing on it?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm good.
We were pushing it, and then that meter I was watching, I'm like, okay, I got enough. I could see the exit. We'll be good. Drop, drop, drop. Low fuel. Drop, drop, drop. Out of gas. You know.
How many times have you run out of gas in your life?
You know what? In all fairness, if you ask that question, it's less than 10.
Okay.
I think it's probably less than 5.
Russ?
You mean run out of gas where I didn't push the car to the side, where I tipped it a little bit and was able to start it and get where I was going?
Where I had to get fuel.
Like I needed help.
You had to bring fuel to the car.
Probably 5. So if I say 5, it could be as many as
10.
10. It could be as few as 5.
All right.
My wife would tell you more.
Never. Never run out of gas.
I have been in many situations.
Doug, have you ran out of gas?
Where I was out, but when I got to the side of the road, it got tipped just right where I was able to fire it up and get up to speed and get over a hill and coast in. But there's been a couple times where I pulled the diesel out of the shed 5 or 6 years ago, and as I was driving, I was here in town, and you guys know where it is, but I'm not going to describe it for everybody else. But where I was at, there was a red light, there was a lot of traffic, and I was going, and I looked, and I said, I am out of fuel. I should have just brought fuel to the vehicle before I went. I might have even had a can there, but I didn't. So I knew I was running out as it was coughing like diesels do, and I was coming down a pretty steep grade. So I just floored it and got up to about 50, and I ran the red light and drove right on through into the turn lane, and people were just starting to, it turned red, and they were just starting to come across. So I just right across into the turn lane and down the hill and coasted into the gas station, up over the curve, and filled it up. My wife looked at me and she says, "Really? Again?"
I had to coast in once in a loaner car.
I was so wrong.
I'd had my car serviced, and they let me take a loaner car.
Was it ours?
Yeah. And I called and I said, "Hey, I almost ran out of gas. I had to coast into the thing." And you said...
It was a Cutlass, wasn't it?
Yeah, you said...
Oh, I said the gas gauge is broke.
You said, yeah, the gas gauge is broke.
When it hits a quarter, it's empty.
I said, it has a quarter tank left. And you said, yeah, it's broke. That's not
Cade ran out too.
But what happened was, I can't remember the guy's name, young guy, you said, "Hey, go start the Cutlass for him, make sure everything's good." He got out of the Cutlass and said, "Yeah, you're all good to go. You got a quarter tank of gas."
Clayton.
But the gauge was just broken at quarter tank.
Clayton.
Yeah. So there you go. That's the only time. And I made it in. I coasted into a coffee cup. There you go.
But just think if you ran out of gas and it wasn't gas, but you ran out of electric charge.
Right.
I ran out of fuel.
And you're sitting on the road.
One of the best things in my life ever happened to me running out of gas, and I won't go into it, but it was really one of the best, what turned into one of the best experiences of my life. You know, meeting somebody was when I ran out of gas in the middle of nowhere, and I was thinking, I'm in the middle of nowhere. What am I going to do? And I sat on the hood and sat there for about 5 minutes thinking, what a beautiful night. And then somebody pulled over, and I was thinking, this is crazy.
I had a close call when we drove to California. I was out in the desert in the middle of absolute nowhere, and I was trying to get the GPS to work, and I was telling my wife, I call her where I was, and
Gas
she's
station,
like,
I'm in the ocean.
you're nowhere. You are nowhere. You're going to run out of gas. And I just thought, I'm going to run out. There's nothing I can do now. And
be eaten by wolves.
I pulled into the we came over a corner and there was a brand new gas station, travel plaza, hotel and casino.
I am saved.
Grand
It's a
opening,
mirage.
night one.
Night one.
Opened on that day, and it was out in the middle of nowhere.
Do you ever wonder, are there people that are paid to just run routes and see what their patterns are, when they're low on fuel, when they're...
No, I think you learn it quick.
No,
probably.
but for people to decide where they
Put a
go-
gas
station? Oh, yeah, good question.
Is there the research has got to be okay? This many miles away, normal range is this. There's research. I bet you
that's what those little.
They could
tubes
probably
are.
use your OnStar and your telematics and see what the fuel gauge. They know what your fuel gauge
Call
rating
Chevy
is.
and buy that info.
It's all there.
people are running out of gas about this exit by the property.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're lowest on fuel. Did you know that 29% of all the cars that drive by this location have less than 10% of fuel?
Yeah, or they're
Really?
going out and they're saying, "All right, these people all leave for work at this time. They're going to be hungry about 10, so we can have a snack."
Oh, yeah.
Walmart knows that.
Yeah.
They know what the temperature is for selling Pop-Tarts in Poughkeepsie, New York, I mean, it's
Love it.
AI.
It is AI.
It is. It's
All right.
scary.
That'll do it for the after show. Thanks for joining us on the Under the Hood show. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video. By the way, if you're watching right now, just click that thumbs up. That helps.
Yeah, even if you don't subscribe, a lot
If
of
you
people,
don't
you have
like
a
it.
subscribing phobia.
We
Hit
just
the
need-
like.
We just need activity.
Yeah, how about just a comment? Something simple. Okay. Bad. Good. Thanks. Maybe. Anything. Just one word's good.
Not
We'll take
something bad though.
No, good.
Because
I don't want to
if you
delete it
say,
all.
I'll tell you, if you put something on there like, "Hey, love the show," I'm gonna think, "Oh, that was nice. They just said that." But if you say, "Don't like the show," I will believe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There you go.
Don't
All right.
don't get caught up in the bad. Just
That'll do it for the Under the Hood show. Thanks for joining us.